Welcome to the Corey Shepherd podcast. This is episode 22. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Reminders, right? You could get us on the Cadence Club where you'll see the links on my IG page, Corey Shepherd podcast, or at Corey Shepherd on IG. I will always send out the links on WhatsApp to the Cadence Club as well. Keep in mind that from the Cadence Club, you can always go to subscribe on Apple, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, YouTube is always up as well. So anywhere you could get, just hold on to it, and if you like it in real enough, like I like on the page, and share it with people and subscribe. Of course, it will be good. Now, last week was a slow news week, so this podcast never supposed to get so serious. I listened back to a few of the last episodes and I realized, listen, this thing getting a little serious. So I want to get back to the shits and giggles real fast because that is not for me. You see, that's sort of serious and heavy talk. That is not for me. So the best thing for me to do this week, like usually I would do the episode and then throw in a song in the end if a song relevant. But I have a song that relevant to this episode. I want to do it up front, and I feel like I will play this song about 5 times for this episode because Trinidad, I don't like this term that Trinidad is not a real place, and I don't like to say it. But boy, some things I see in the news this week, I surely see the news and thing, yeah? And some things I see people supporting and backing and arguing over. And listen, we polarize the wrong. Almost every issue I have here to talk about is a polarizing issue. So this is a song by a fella named the Mighty Sparrow, you know him? And it's the most relevant song I could find for this episode because. Boy, listen, this country is a place where who to trust. I remember I played a song named Who Are to Guard the Guards last time. It going along the same lines. So here we go. Now, this is one of the first calypsos I ever learned. Let me try it here instead. Yes, this one is class. They charge a magistrate for driving too fast. You mustn't doubt me. Yes, this one is class. They charge a magistrate for driving too fast. It only have one courthouse in the district, and he's the only magistrate there to run it. If you see how the people pack up the place to see how this magistrate go try his own case. Himself told himself, you are charged for speeding. Himself started to shout, the policeman lying. Himself told himself, don't shout. They said no sport, and he charged himself for contempt of court. He said, go ahead, let me hear what happened. So the police said, Your Honor, if you see how this man could speed. And he pointed at the magistrate, Johnny Mead. The magistrate asked him who he talking about. Is you him, I mean? The policeman shout out. The magistrate pick up a looking glass and ask himself, is it true you were driving fast? Himself told himself, you are charged for speeding. Himself started to shout, the policeman lying. Himself tell himself don't shout. They say no sport, and he charged himself for contempt of court. Then Mr. Carruth, he came up and he started to prosecute. The magistrate then called on his lawyer to defend the defendant, who is Your Honor. And all the time when the lawyer talking, the magistrate serious, sometime he laughing. At time the magistrate tell you himself, look, I have a good mind to take away your license book. Himself tell himself, you are charged for speeding. Himself started to shout, the policeman lying. Himself told himself, don't shout. They say no sport, and he charged himself for contempt of court. Well, I nearly drop when the man take up your pen and start to sum up. Partner, I start to study if he going to put his own self in custody. But I was wrong because again he take up the mirror. He tell himself to pay $20. He bust out a cry, he turn around and say, give me a chance, I want a little time to pay. Himself told himself, you are charged for speeding. Himself start to shout, the policeman lying. Himself tell himself, alright, I will be kind of giving you 5 years to pay the fine. That's the story of Trinidad and Tobago this week. Everybody is doing judge, jury, and executioner. Who to investigate? Them going investigate themselves and them heading investigation. Because I hear a man. Well, let me tell you what is happening. For people who are not up to date on it, the DSS come back up again and get raid. I thought it was the end of that. I say, well, people start back getting the payout. Everybody's sweet for the Christmas. Well, it wasn't to be. Because the Bajans and them who come in, apparently they come in breathless. The Bajans rolling in and they come in to take what they had to take. They in charge. And they roll up by priest again. and lock down the DSS. The man said they take electronic devices. So I assume like calculator, laptop, everything. They take the receipts for the people and they take money. So even if he wanted to pay out and think he can't have no records now to pay nobody. And this time, I guess, I don't know if it's because Gary or the country or what is going on, but the court come and say now they holding, they get $7 million, they say short of $7 million. So they decide that they're holding on to this and they have a court order where they could hold it for as much as 3 months, if I'm right. Now that 3 months, I see a man say online, they sour people Christmas and everything. It's not carnival to sour really, but the Christmas gets sour because, I mean, you know the law in this country, if they could hold it for 3 months, they're holding it for 3 months, I would think. So it's a tricky one. And I don't know where it's going. But I think I laughed this week more than I ever laughed. And I want to laugh at people paying it because when people money gets seized, it's a serious thing. I understand that people put their last in DSS or really looking forward to the payouts. As the man said, Priest had a press conference, a few press conferences. And he was talking about representing for people and empowering people and saying, I you know my take on that. There's a chance you take it and thing, but people not even getting the chance to take the chance. That's how it goes. You know what I mean? Himself told himself. So, just short of 6 million, the Bajans and them working from the time they reach here. And what was odd, right? You know, it's always have video of the arrest going on. The video, I hear people begging for the warrant. It sounds like Priest himself was live on his Instagram and saying, well, let me get the warrant. And the police keep saying the warrant in the car. What's the law? What is the law? What we governing ourselves by? If police come by you, isn't it that they should present the warrant first? That is not the procedure. I want to know. Somebody had to call me and tell me, you know. Because I don't understand how you could come and raid my place for whatever I do, in wrong, right, or indifferent. Because if we allow these things to happen there, when it happen home by you can't say nothing, no. Because it take one police with a vengeance against you to come by you and the warrants that you put. So where the car is? If the car right there, go back and get the warrant and then come back and present the warrant to the people in a law-abiding way. This is what I mean when I talk about himself told himself, you know, because you come in to enforce the law, but it's sounding to me like you breaking the law while you're there. Now, Priest say people stick money in the bosom again, but I didn't see no video of it, so I don't know. But I based on what I see in the first one, the man moves so thirsty. But again, people get suspended and things, so maybe nobody didn't take no money, but they get a 6-point-something million. And people in an uproar, of course. People who was investors, people worried about if they will get the money back and thing. And I mean, I watch him in the press conference. And to me, man talks sense. He's a level-headed kind of fellow because I think me in that situation would have been much more emotional and all over the place. And the man was very pointed in the things he say and the fact that he created an investment opportunity for people and he not doing anything illegal. And he with his lawyers, the man at Queen Council and thing. I think that's the right thing to do. Queen Council up, get the best lawyers you could get because a lot of people online talking about how this race of people, I don't know when it turned into a race thing, but it's this race of people this do thing and who find drugs in this place and who burn down their own factory and they think a lot of things is happening in Trinidad and people is get off. But my humble opinion is because people is pay the best of the best lawyers. So if you find the best of the best, I ain't give him wrong at all. Defend yourself. But he went on to say, right, this is the part where somebody got to help me with some clarification. I know. Send my email. That's some people sign up for the email subscription. That's some people who's put it on the discussion on the Cadence Club. Somebody help me. He starts off by saying in the week that he was on a phone call with a senior police officer, a senior man in the police force, and somebody who is responsible for the investigation. So I go into him there all the time because assuming it's not the Bajans he on a call with, I say it's Trini. So I listening and he said 2 other people was also on the call and he was told, no, this wasn't the press conference, I lie. It was in the papers. The Guardian or the Express or one of them had put out an article with a transcript from the conversation he had with a senior police officer among some other people who was on the line. And listen, it's the hardest thing I ever read in my life. I can't understand what it is being said. I had to read it over and over to try to figure out what it is. But the part that's standing out is where the senior police officer who responsible for the action they take on the 3rd or 2nd raid, whatever number raid it was, that person was telling them, well, you're not doing nothing illegal, so we can't lock you up, we can't charge you for doing nothing illegal. The main concern is people who in the protective services who invest in money. And then they went on to say, it's not like if a policeman can't take his money and put in an investment if you want to, nothing illegal about that. But if there's a case that a policeman puts in 500,000 in it, then we have to ask questions about where the policeman get 500,000. Now, you see the himself tell himself again coming out in this thing, because I can't understand why that is an issue. This country, as far as I know, have a very plain and simple law saying that if you're depositing anything above $30,000, you have to follow that source of funds. So I don't know if DSS was asking people for source of funds who went in above $30,000, but it would be wise for them to do that, I think, so that when the central bank or the FIB or whoever, financial people or whatever questions asked, I could just present something saying Corey Shepard paying $100,000 and he say he get it because he just do X, Y, Z. And I think the institution cleared that, because I followed source of funds many times and the bank never questioned the source of funds that I put. And I would assume that they wouldn't take any responsibility for what I put there if questions started to be asked about me. I had to answer my questions for myself. The bank is a financial institution and they do their part. So the DSS is a financial institution, and I guess once they have a source of funds, they do their part. So how are you questioning him, the owner of the organization? Why is he under questioning for a policeman putting large sums of money in the investment thing? If in one part of the conversation you're saying it's not illegal, is an odd thing. The parallel is this, right? If I take $500,000 and put it in RBL, or they call him Dulal Whiteway, or who's the head of RBL now, boy? Whoever is the big boys in charge in the bank. Anybody calling them to ask them why they accept a deposit for me. Now that, and I talk about calling to ask her, because I'm dead sure they're not carrying them in no jail and raiding the premises of Republic Bank. That's not happening. But again, registered financial institution, it have differences between these things. But the man said the senior policeman is telling him that what you're doing is not illegal. Well, boy, by the time the man reached the press conference the next day, this must be by Thursday, Friday now, come to find out the senior police officer he talking to is Gary Griffith. So here one they call her, Gary Griffith, Karen Priest Clark, who is the head of the DSS, Mark Bassant, who is an investigative reporter with CNC3. I talked about Mark Bassant here with the David John Williams story the other day, and how much work he's doing with the investigations. And a person who he understood was from the police, but he get to find out eventually they are from the embassy. Now, in the midst of all that, another paper is carrying a report saying that Gary Griffith said that Karen looking for asylum. Now, I trying to figure out these things, because if you're looking for asylum, it had to be that you're doing something wrong and something happened, so you want protection, you want state protection, so you're giving up rogue police officers was what was quoted in the papers. So you're giving up rogue police officers or giving information on rogue police officers. And with that information, you get in protection. Again, what is called in the States again, boy? Immunity, indemnity, whatever it's called. Again, asylum, they say. So he looking to get out of here. So I guess that is why the embassy person involved. But I can't figure out the weirdness of this phone call. What is that? What happened there? Gary Griffith. Why is Mark Bassant and Gary Griffith on the same call with anybody? What is that? I tried to put, boy, listen, for the podcast alone, I tried to come up with all kind of scenarios to try to make this thing make sense. But all you had to help me with that. Why Mark Bassant? If you have an ongoing investigation, or you calling a man who only have under watch for issues you have with your police officers, how Mark Bassant reach in? Now, so I'm waiting to hear Gary say that it wasn't him on the call. Gary Griffith never said it wasn't him on the call. Because, I want to hear the call too. I hope somebody released that call, or I guess they had to go to court and things. But when that come out, I want to hear that call, because the amount of fumbling and bumbling on that call, that was so hard to read the transcript. I ain't doubting it's Gary. When he get excited, he's a man, his arm and butt and thing plenty. So when I say anything, I say, well, this is a kind of madness. Why? Even if I'm looking for asylum, what Mark Bassant had to do with that? All right, the embassy man, I suppose he had to go in the States. Me know if the man have visa. I don't know how this is work. But I can't figure out for the life of me what is the purpose of Mark Bassant being on the call. Well, boy, it will get even more strange because Priest went on to single out Mark Bassant and say how disappointed he is and is a man who he had trust and he. So I'm thinking, well, wait, there's an ongoing relationship. This is an ongoing triangle going on between DSS, Mark Bassant, and Gary Griffith. I trying to understand. I do not understand. So, again, to me, he self-tell himself. Because what Gary come on and say, here what Gary Griffith say now. Gary Griffith, you know your boy like to puff up his chest and he's a head honcho. You know what that man say? That man say, I know I was being recorded. To me, I think that is craziness, number one. So yes, you know you was being recorded. So you being recorded as a police commissioner, constable, You being recorded saying he not doing anything wrong. And this is the man only want to carry to court. I wonder how that is work, boy. If I go to court, I just press and play. I just press and play where the police commissioner tell me, hey, you ain't doing nothing wrong. How only go and prosecute me still? That same police commissioner, the same force that he responsible for, are they going to send a file to the DPP saying that he should be charged or tried for something when the commissioner himself have a phone call that they could present as evidence saying he ain't do nothing wrong? And I guess Mark Bassant might be he taking transcript on the call or what he doing? He have... But again, Chris say he disappointed in Mark Bassant. Mark Bassant turned out to be not less than honest, I think, to sum up what you were saying. And then Gary Griffith went further to say, like I said, he said he know he was being recorded. But he said all the person to blame here is the person who released the recording. I thinking, what? The conversation you had, I think the conversation shouldn't have been had at all. You foreign, you say you went and watched football and thing. I hear a whole next story about that too. Eh? But I don't have no Queen Council money, so I ain't saying nothing about that. I hear a next story about why he leave this country. But you're abroad. DSS kick up. I remember Gary Griffith himself saying that he not going nowhere. He was cancelling the vacation. Only remember that? And he said that the reason he was cancelling it is because he wanted to stay here and see about DSS. So he go on there to watch his son play football, quote unquote, and you still making call, 3-way and 4-way calls to see what happened with DSS when they have a second man in charge. Remember we talked about the second man last week? The second man come out and talk big. He boiled on like Badger. I never hear about it again. I can't remember his name. But Gary Griffith still conducting phone call and saying on the phone call, I know I was being recorded, and the person to blame for all this is the person who released the recording. And hear what that man say now. That man say, and it's not Mark Bassant. How you know it's not Mark Bassant? You have so much belly. You're the commissioner of police. You going on record to say it wasn't Mark. So you sure you know who released the call? Boy, listen, I think the man do the right thing by getting it quick. Because they clearly, I mean, I talking about this and laughing and thing, but they have things going on behind the scenes here that we don't know. We don't know. Something in right. Apparently really great is the DSS because I can't figure out what could be going on so that this odd group of people on a call, and then Gary Griffith brave enough to go on a call in an ongoing investigation that the head man in charge is telling somebody he ain't doing nothing wrong. It's my own officers, I think. So if you studying your own officers, why I being harassed and arrested and thing, come and ask me for the information nicely. The man said they have receipts for this, that, and the third. Come and ask for the receipts, and I will show you the receipts of where your officers is. But I don't know. And in the middle of the most important thing in the press conference too is why all defense force people had the same ring. When you get in the defense force, they get all of them that little rectangle rings upon their finger. I see in priest with this. Anyway, that we digress. Now, the man, you know what's funny in the press conference too? The man so want to present DSS as above board and legitimate that the man can't say the word illegitimate. It can't come out his mouth. The organization too real for him to say the word illegitimate. Let me don't laugh. I like to laugh at people if they can. The man make a little struggle. But it's a rough time for him. I don't know what will happen out of it. We have to keep monitoring it. But the idea of 4 of them on that phone call, that continuing to, as Jack Warner would say, boggle my mind. I don't understand what's going on. I guess they have more to it than Mark Bassant. He ain't saying nothing yet, eh? I'm watching Mark Bassant, I'm watching the papers, I'm trying to see Twitter everywhere. He has said nothing about this, but he have the backing of the commissioner. Apparently, the commissioner have Mark Bassant phone home by him, so he know it's not Mark Bassant leaked the call. So I guess it's either Priest from the DSS leaked the call or the fella from the embassy. But regardless of what, he self-tell himself. Everybody in this scenario governing themselves, everybody have a different story. But what I know for sure is that Gary Griffith, being the commissioner of the police, did not deny that he was on the phone with the guy and Mark Bassant and the other dude. So that's what it is. Like, we go monitor it and see it. And in the midst of it now, I wonder if people know David Muhammad. Now, I used to listen to David Muhammad. It was on Paul 102 at a time with a show called The Black Agenda. If you know David Muhammad, he's Muslim. And he everything he talks about is black empowerment and enriching blackness and understanding your history, understanding yourself. He talks a lot about the journey of being a Muslim and what, he's a learned man by no stretch of the imagination. David Muhammad, fly by night. He know his stuff. Well read, well educated. He speaks very, very well. And I have a lot of respect for people who can speak to grassroots all the way to kings and queens. And he's one of them people, when he speaks, he's hard not to listen to. So some weeks ago, I can't remember if I talked about it on this podcast or not. I remember him doing a whole hour about the Sou Sou and saying that there's a big difference between a Sou Sou, which is an African system where we pool our resources together to help one another, and a pyramid scheme, which is something that need a bunch of numbers and it will crash eventually and everybody will end up blah, 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 blah. He do a whole hour. I listened to the whole hour and I was trying to figure, because I want to know where he is, what's his stance on this, because I know he has a huge following and people listen to him. I remember leaving home to go and listen to David Muhammad in City Hall when they had done the first, I don't know if it was the first one, is the first one I come across, a Black Caucus meeting, where the idea was to get large numbers of black people together to pool resources to build like community centers. I remember talking to them too about giving free lessons for children who might need lessons in some subjects and things. So they're extremely progressive. They've been around a long time and they have the ear of a large amount of people, a big amount of black people listen to them. So I wanted to hear what was his take on this Sou Sou, because when I was, at first I was worried about people going and invest and putting money in this thing. And I was worried that people didn't understand what it was. But now I know people know fully well what it is, right? So I wanted to hear his voice because I thought that he would have been a voice much more so than mine that could have guided people in the right direction, explain what this thing is, so that people know the risk they're taking and they know what they're getting into and they don't take chances that they can't afford to take. But I did find when he did that hour, he was on the fence. Because while he keeps saying the Sou Sou is an African thing and this and that, and he's saying the Ponzi scheme is this, he's not coming out and say that these things that they call in Sou Sou is a Ponzi scheme. He never come out and say it. He dance around it and thing. And if you know him, when he have a point to make, he making the point. He don't really dance around nothing. Well, boy, he stopped dancing. Because I see a clip going around with him now. No, all you have to stick with me. If you're driving, pull aside and get pen and paper for me. Because I was never good in maths. Salute my boy Hinkson. If it wasn't for Hinkson, then man, I never passed maths. But that man make a video about African arithmetic. And he talking specifically about DSS here. He was talking specifically about DSS and the fact that they're persecuting the fellow, which I tend to agree with. I don't understand if people taking the chance and they want to go in it and they feel they're getting back and everybody getting back and thing, and it have nothing illegal about it, they shouldn't stop it. Now, I'm saying that against the backdrop of what was happening with Clico probably should have been governed differently. What happened with Hindu Credit Union probably should have been governed differently. So maybe this is the government stepping up and saying, okay, this could be another situation like this. If we have so many large numbers of people, particularly in public service, joining this thing, then it could be something that when it crash, taxpayers' dollars go to pay it back, right? Maybe. But anyway, David Muhammad come on to talk about DSS. So add it tune in. I want to hear what's his take again. This time the man went directly and said that he is basically saying that DSS is a Sou Sou, But no, he says advanced Sou Sou. He said DSS is an advanced Sou Sou. It's not Sou Sou. Advanced Sou Sou. Using African arithmetic. And you know he's talking, he said, there's a Sou Sou using African arithmetic. And you know, when he started talking, I said, but what is African? I had to go and Google African arithmetic because I confused. Maths, they invent maths in Africa. I don't care what the history books and things say them and things. So I don't know if the Egyptians and things they work with the maths initially, but they had a different part of Africa where had arithmetic. But the man says African arithmetic, and here the African arithmetic the man say, right? If 10 people put 100, we say 100 people per $100, like $10,000, right? Somebody had to check my maths on this one because I ain't good at maths. 100 people by $100 is 10,000. And if for 5 weeks, all 100 of them put $100, that is 10,000 by 5, which is 50,000, right? I know he says the people who put their money in the first week, so 100 people per $100 in week 1. Then a new 100 per 100 in week 2. And we go all the way to week 5. Now the whole bunch of money we have when we pull it together is 50,000, right? 10,000 by 5. My guy said that is how the people from week 1 going to get their $50,000. I said this make perfect sense. Why didn't I think of this advanced Sou Sou and African arithmetic? But then he went on to say that the following week, the people from week 2 going to get 50,000. And then my head started to hurt me. I said, but I from a different part of Africa. I stay on the boat too long because I can't understand. If 100 people per $100 every week, that's $10,000 a week. If in the first 5 weeks you give away all the money in the scheme, the 6th week, 100 people per $100, all you have is 10,000. How the people from week 2 collecting 50,000? But the man say it's African arithmetic. Listen, I so confused. And people now trying to justify, well, what the SSs do, them don't pay out the whole amount. So when them collect the 50, what them is do is pay out 25 and you had a re-gift. So I say, well, all right. The African arithmetic, it's starting to sound like if I are going back across the Atlantic of my ancestors. But then I say, the following, let me say pay out 25 in week 5. That means you have 25 balance. You collect a next 10,000 in week 6. That group of people in week 6 now, week 2, them collect the 25 because now you have $35,000 balance. You're good to go. I say, nice. The SS working. I myself looking to go around and get some money I'm paying. So I say that 25. But then they say when week 3 come, I say, well, I started to get confused again because if you pay out 25 out of the 35, you remain with 10. The next week come, man, put back in the next 10. I think you're short. I think you're short $5,000. So again, I remember I talked to Chanel and think about this, and she changed my mind about this a lot. And I am not knocking nobody for going in nothing. If you want to go in that, you go in that. But you see, going down the road of trying to say that is African empowerment and is really how black people could elevate themselves. It's simply not true. But now when you say it's not true, you hate black people too. You hate your eyes are Uncle Tom. Because telling people it's true. Me and telling you to go in DSS. If you go in DSS and you get through. As far as like Chanel say, you're going and you're getting through at somebody's expense, but them was trying to get through at your expense too. No love lost. I'm sorry for the people. Like I talk to people during the weekend thing, and I realizing it have people who genuinely don't understand. They like me. The maths ain't adding up for them. You know, I'm not good at maths at all. I struggle with maths. I struggle with accounting. Anything with numbers, I'm in trouble. So you see the people who just like genuinely believe is a real investment and is African empowerment and them things, and they put their money in it and they're not getting it back. I really feel sorry for them if that is the case. Now, let me tell you what I feel is the genius behind DSS. If I could be so rude as to say that. Where the men come good is with the numbers self, because that I don't know what David Mom is talking about there. That don't make no sense whatsoever. I think what they did and what was wise, and if they could do this in perpetuity, it's unlikely. But what they do is they run one for 700. For the 700, let me say you're collecting 3,500. they're watching the numbers. When they start to reach critical mass, they release our next one now where you're paying in 3,000. And for that 3,000, you're collecting, like we say, 15 or whatsoever the numbers is. And then they bust our next one, they say, all right, 10,000. And then they go 15,000. So if you increase the amount, a couple of things will happen there. Number one, the people who collect in the first set of hands will reinvest on their own free will. Even if you hold back something and tell them they're regifting, which I understand from plenty of these Sou Sou, that regift, you don't really collect on that. That's that gift, right? But you will take, if I pay in 700, I get 3,500. And them come out and bring one out now for 1,500. Why wouldn't I take a 1,500 out of that 35? I done up. I pay in 700, I get 35. I put back in 2. I still up a digit. I still up $800. I can't go wrong. Even if I lost some of that money, I still up. So I put back in, let me use 1,500 as an example. If you put back in 1,500, you still have 2,000 in your pocket. Less the 7 you had put in the first place, you're up 1,300. If that 1,500 come true, and let me say you get 7,500 back from there, I up big again. So when that 7,500 come true now, and they bring out one for 5,000, I could put that back in and I still up. So the people will come back on their own free will if you're giving them the payouts and you're getting payouts on time and people start to trust the system, just like any other bank, people will continue going and put back their money in there. Now, I think they reach 15,000 as the biggest hand now. If you continue doing that, you will reach the point now where you had to put out 100 grand a hand. And what will eventually happen there is they have less people who could afford to pay 100 grand and even less. Some people will be able to pool together based on what they collect from other hands or people who have their own money and they could pool together, but the pool getting smaller. So eventually, I think it will be the same fate as all the rest. But again, once it has nothing illegal, I can't understand why if you have a problem with your police officers, address that with your police officers. I hear somebody say something, I can't remember who it is, but it was a real instructive statement. They say, so if DSS didn't come about, you would not know nothing about your police officers being corrupt and have 500,000 of money that ill-gotten gains. DSS is I don't understand. If this had never happened, we'd have just continued with the police force the way it is then. But we'll see. We'll see because, and this is where I say it's more himself tell himself, because let me be careful with my words. I don't want nobody. I don't want no problems. But I started to think to myself when I listened to that spoiler Calypso, if I run in a Sou Sou, right? An advanced Sou Sou in the wise words of David Moment, and I realized that my numbers ain't adding up no more and I'm going to crash, right? I have 90 something million in hand, but I have 300 million to pay out. And I am a member of the defense force. Why I wouldn't organize some people to arrest me and raid? I'm not making no accusation. I thinking in my mind, and I just had a study, boy. If a magistrate could charge himself $20 for speeding and give himself 5 years to pay the fine, why a man can organize your own raid and create a distraction and thing? Because then the people who in DSS who didn't get back their money, who was getting back their money all the time, nobody going and blame the organization. They're going to blame the police and the government, and they don't like black people and whatever, see black people progress and all these things. No? So everybody going to light candle for praise and pray and hope that, it's when you hear people talking about one thing, they say, boy, you're a young black businessman and thing. So, and I do find that he handled himself really, when you hear him talk and think the man handling himself well, better than I would have handled myself. I'd have been emotional and all over the place because you can't tell me ain't doing nothing wrong and then parade me around getting arrested and police by my place every day and saying, you do your own investigation on your own police and leave me alone. I think also the people who invest in DSS, they might have been happier if they went in DSS and it crashed or whatever, than to know the police come and take their money and thing. And I mean, more self-tell yourself because they're saying that a large amount of people from the police force and the defense force is the people. DSS customers, a big part of the customer base is police and soldiers. So it's one of them. And I was watching Facebook. I don't know why I put myself in some situations now, but I guess in trying to follow the story and see where it's going and try to make sense, because plenty of it in making sense to me, I started to follow Isha Wells on Facebook. Now, I really get on to Isha Wells sometime before because she have a I don't know what is a segment. She on Iowa Station 91.9, and she have a segment or something. But she's post on Facebook questions that women asking her, or men asking her, relationship type things now. And boy, some of them is really be a little in depth and intricate. It's sad, but funny as hell. So I start really watching them things. But me and realize that she's a big backer of the DSS and Prees. So she is every day when she go live, she have prayers, say prayers for Prees and all these types of things. Nothing wrong with that, you know what I mean? If my money was in there, I'd be praying like hell 2 years. I would have said, boy, I hope this man get off. I hope they call my name the next week and I could get my money and run. But they, again, people seeing this as a way out, eh? Locator is now little Dubai. So the goal is to get up to the hundreds of millions of dollars through this Sou Sou plan. So if the police come in and clamp down on it. And you know, the thing is, you can't get people wrong neither for saying how Chinese play with running illegal and all them kind of thing, and nobody don't lock them up. And this guy, I don't think you could get people wrong for that at all. But Isha Wells is there, saying a lot of prayers and so on, and doing it live and trying to get support for him. And then in the midst of the whole thing, a GoFundMe account pop up. I don't know if she had started the GoFundMe account or DSS and they had started it, but she was trying to get people to donate and thing. And the idea behind the GoFundMe was to donate to give legal fees for the Queen's Counsel and thing. No, it looked kind of odd, to be honest with you, because again, I just put my money in bank and credit union and thing, right? So I'm not the right person to ask the questions. But let me tell you this. If I have my money in the credit union and I see the credit union start a GoFundMe for legal fees, I will call my money. I go in my credit union the next day and say, I might give to the GoFundMe because I love the credit union and I like the credit union movement and say, I might give to the GoFundMe. But if the credit union don't have the money to pay their own legal fees, I'm going to kindly ask to get just give me back my little money now because it ain't looking good, you know what I mean? A financial institution, plenty it is be about stability, you know, or the image of stability. But anyway, they started GoFundMe, and of course people give because if you believe in it and you believe it's wrong, it makes sense. Give. And I think it reached must about 4,000 US or so. I think they were trying to raise 100,000 US. And then it gets shut down. Now I think DSS, it might have been DSS who put it up because they came up and said they put it down. I don't know why. Like, why they didn't just continue and collect the money and whatever. But I guess, I don't know if it's that reason about stability or giving the right image or what. But soon after, I see a next article saying that JMMB called back the man and give him a manager's check and kindly ask him to take his business elsewhere. Now, how you gonna give people wrong now who feel like this whole thing is a conspiracy and a kickback thing and they want to keep poor people down? I see a man say, listen, Christmas is the time we just have to go and face the bank for a little small loan to buy this and buy that and go and pay courts a set of money to buy this and buy that. JMMB, so wait, what I'm trying to understand, right, is, okay, financial impropriety. Let's assume, I don't know what is the reason they give. They give the most vague statement I ever hear in my life. Just basically saying that they keep up with their standards of banking and blah, blah, blah. Listen, this statement is empty. And then men give back the man a manager's check for all his money. And he said it include his other business, which is money lending, and he registered and licensed as a money lender. Now, I want to understand. You're innocent until proven guilty, or you're guilty by accusation, or you're guilty by charges. And then you had to prove yourself innocent now. I'm just asking. Because I don't understand. This is what I'm saying. Is more he tell himself. How could it be we living in a country where JMMB could legally just decide that, hey, I giving you back a manager's check for your thing, carry your thing elsewhere. Now, think of this, right? The bankers operate as a bankers association. They operate in competition and everything and fairness and all that, but they're in an association where they come together to make joint decisions. I don't want to go as far as to say cartel and thing. I want to make it to episode 23 and beyond, right? So I'm trying to choose more words carefully. But there is a bankers association and they come together and discuss banking issues, right? So Where is Prees taking this managers? Where JMMB suggesting he take it to? Because if he do something so wrong that you could close off the man account and hand him back a manager's check, which bank going and take it now? I'm trying to understand. Because if he doing something so wrong that a bank could come out and say take back all your money, then no bank shouldn't take his deposit. What he going and put as his source of funds now? When he go there, he can't put Sou Sou. They stopped that since the new money thing. And he under investigation somewhere, one bank publicly come out and make a statement about why they give him back his money. And you know what's funny about that too? Where you see where can't get people wrong for having a chip on their shoulder in this country? You decide on your own. You didn't debate with me and call me in and say, "Oh, Corey, listen, I think you should take your business elsewhere. Where you think you want to leave it here? You give me back. Why you didn't give me all my money in cash? Why? How would it right for you to be able to give me a manager's check for what I have there? Because the only thing I could do with a manager's check is go by another financial institution. To get so why if you don't want my business no more, why you don't Watson Duke man put all my cash in a bag? You see, you can't vex with people when they do the thing. Watson Duke went a time by RBC on Park Street. It's the biggest spectacle I ever see on Park Street. Watson Duke take all the PSA money out of RBC. I think it was RBC or it was FCB. One of them, both of them opposite each other. And he said, "Give me everything in cash. I don't want no manager's check." And the man take it in a big bag and walk across by the next bank to deposit the account out of cash. You see, you can't get people wrong for doing what they're doing. Why only didn't get the man back cash, Dread? I don't understand. What he going to do with this manager's check? Where he going to deposit it? If he doing something that's so wrong. But anyway, you could do what you want when there's a bank in this country. The bank could do whatever they feel like doing. So that again, that's above my pay grade, and I don't want any bank, so I don't want. If the bank decide to close me off right now, how much of this might be a bad idea. The banks, I want them to pick up this as a policy. I find they should just close me off right now because the amount of money I win in bank, if they close me off, they give me a negative manager's check. Me, no problem with that, and let that be it for all my debts. No, after I say all that, I get a call from a partner of mine who in finance. I call it a warning. I ain't calling the man name, but it's a legitimate one. He in banking for a long time and understand the finance way better than me. Remember I tell you I don't understand maths? I just go to my partner Hinkson. Well, there's the man I just go to for anything finance. You see me, if I had to invest, I just call him. So from what he's telling me, the bank is within its right to close off anybody's account once they have suspicious activity. So apparently they don't need to wait on the court or any evidence or anything like that to close off somebody's account, and with some good reasons. For instance, if you're suspected, I'm not saying that this is the reason with DSSI. Of course, we don't know what's the exact reason because the letter, as I said, the letter was kind of vague. They didn't give any specifics, which I understand now is standard. So if they suspect, for instance, you're funding terrorism as an example, right? Just an example. They could call you back and say, "Hey, what's going on? We can't continue to maintain your account," because they had to assess their own level of risk and what they do in the central bank. Now, having that's explained to me, that sounds fair to me. And I was asking him as well, what about making it public? And he raised a good pointer. His point is that they didn't make it public, JMMB. They responded to him making it public, which is also fair. So I take back what I say. I can't remember what I say, but I take it back anyway. Because if he didn't make it public, he might have been able to take his manager's check and deposit it in another bank somewhere else they would question it, but he could come up with whatever reasons why he's switching banks and he wants a better rate or whatsoever it is. He could come up with a reason without having to do it. But according to the advice I being given and what I being told, he might have made things bad for himself by going public with something like that, because now for sure the other banks will not want to take that on as a deposit. And you could see why, right? It's reasonable. If one bank puts you out there as too risky and then you make it public that they ask you to take back your money and all this, which is apparently not standard that a bank will make that public. They will usually do that quietly. But I suppose they had to respond because people were calling for a boycott of GMMB based on how they treat Prees and all these kind of things. So if I was sitting where the Corpcom person sitting in GMMB, I would have write one of them vague letter to, yes, to be honest. I mean, if them fellas is helping with the finance, but as a marketing person myself, I might just say, guys, we had to put something out. I guess you can't give out anybody banking details or any information. So I had to say, listen, we adhering to standards and based on our assessments and give one of them vague letters to hold. So we had to wait and see. And he also told me as well that in the case, because I was asking him, well, basically, hey, why I can't get back cash? What the manager's check situation? And he was saying that it is very likely that he will be able to walk right back into JMMB and ask for cash for that manager's check. So I guess that reasonably enough. I suppose the idea getting my manager's check is to, as he said, send the letter, expedite this thing, let you know what is the situation, and now you have something very liquid in your hand. A manager's check very, very close to cash, right? So he might be able to go back in JMMB and get his cash. So who knows? People might get paid out for Christmas according to how much that cash is. You never know. And he may be also able. Let's see what happens if you go to another bank and get another bank account. I think in fairness to the other banks too, if you had something like this happen to you and then you make it public, it make it even more difficult for me to do it, because now I'm not sure if you're going to come out and say for all the people who was boycotting JMMB, guys, we no longer banking with JMMB. Scotia take the money, so let's go by Scotia. You're putting the heat on our bank manager, on our bank as a brand as a whole. So, I mean, I understand. It's nice to have both sides of the story. So I appreciate that call to clear some of that up. So back to Isha Wells. I know I read so far. JMMB said more for a little bit. So Isha Wells, beyond the GoFundMe, I saw Isha Wells Sunday morning calling on people saying, you know what I mean, the Hindu community reach out to them and they're doing a little puja, so them going up in the bush to do that. She stopped just short of saying Obeah. Now, if you know me have no problem with Obeah. I can't vex with nobody. You see, sometimes what we have as people, we look down on. I see a friend of mine was saying, don't go and what she say, boy? Don't go and play Halloween thing and you this and that and it's ghost and goblin and thing, but then you're afraid Obeah. I find it's quite right. That's ours. So they go out and they light their candle and they do up their thing and them kind of thing. And I mean, I want to see how much it help between now and tomorrow, because I am pretty sure that by the time this podcast come out, that is going to be right back in the headlines where it started. This story not going nowhere, and I will follow it because it reached a point now where it's prayers and Obeah and all them kind of thing. And I mean, that's usually signs that it's on the brink. So we had to follow it and see where it go. And I mean, as we're talking Obeah too, as something happening home by me here, it's better to document these things on the podcast. And we can't tell already about Stacey and the set of red lavender and garlic hide up and my NIS card hide up. And I tell you, I find my NIS card hide up in a box with ring and thing. Them time I done make up my mind, I proposing and thing, but I tell you see me have no problem. Obeah me have no problem with that. Because me and leaving, I staying right where I be. So you could bury my thing, bury my name, take my parchment paper. When I find the red lavender, I put it back right where I don't want to upset it in no way. So that whoever she went by, she had to start over. I don't want nobody start over. I like Brigo say, I properly tie. I good. But so I realize now, proposal pass and wedding planning, advanced wedding planning. But I seen black soap in the bathroom.
We say in all kind of prayers. We throw blacktail, bonin, gugu, lohoban, incense. We doing all kind of prayers, reading Bible. We get oil from the church. We throw salt around the house. We pour garlic, lemon. We throw lime water, all kind of thing. Red lavender, ammonia, seven spirit of springtime.
When I go in the bathroom to bathe, it's a black soap and castor oil. So I put back the black soap because you know, man, when man go in the bathroom, my Pennywise is right in my bathroom. Me go in and buy, I don't buy soap and all them sort of thing. Wherever it had it, and my head ball. Wherever it had, I buy shampoo my hair, I soap with that. Sometimes I soap my head if I ain't have no shampoo. That is not my concern. So when I go in the bathroom now, and I see, when you have a henna soap and you mash up the henna soap and them. I mash up all the henna soap and thing when I bathe. The girl come and tell me, but you're taking my good African black soap. And boy, and I get so fried, I start a cold sweat. I pick back out all the African soap out of my little soap mash. And I put it back in the African soap thing. And I put back, and I left the castor oil with the, me touching nothing. I tie and I stay in tie. I want to stay tie. So I don't know if the black soap working or it isn't working, I go in the same direction. So hopefully, whatever the situation is, because I was hoping that Isha Wells went went live from the puja or the lobby or wherever it was. But she didn't do that, so I didn't get to see. I didn't get to learn no tips and tricks. I need some tips and tricks, just in case. But I mean, the last thing I say on the SS, but like, at least for this episode, is that it can't be that as people we discussing this thing, and anytime you say anything against the thing, you anti-black. Like, I mean, come on, we had to be bigger than that. We had to be past that, right? That thing will carry me nowhere. Hey, wait now, as I'm talking about that, I'm talking about Obeah, whom here for married. The Obeah could be for next child. I know, catch myself there. It could be our next child she trying to black soap me into. Anyway, so moving on past DSS and getting into more himself told himself. In the midst of all this bacchanal, I see an article in the papers. I want to read from this article because I don't want you to feel I'm making up nothing. And the article is from the Expresser, and it's by Denise Wren. So I don't know what the person who I'm going to write about Guy Griffith. He going to come back and say the Express this and the Express that, and Denise Wren. This is Denise Wren 45th article about him in 25 days. What you going to say, right? But here what the article say. This is in the midst of the whole thing coming out with the SS. So this is on the 31st. A multi-million-dollar racket involving several registered firearm dealers catering to crime-worried business people willing to pay big bucks for peace of mind has been uncovered by the Sunday Express. Among those doling out chunks of cash for firearm user licenses, or FUL they call them, right, are private security companies and owners of well-known businesses throughout the country. The Sunday Express investigation, which started 11 months ago, has unearthed that licensed dealers charge their clients processing fees, quote-unquote processing fees, to have their FUL applications expedited. Provisional licenses and FULs are signed off by the Commissioner of Police after undergoing a process which involves investigation by police officers attached to the applicant's policing division. So what is usually happening, from what I understand, is you put in your application and then the police in your area, whether it's your business or your home, they have to go through a process, come in to investigate you. Apparently, your wife had to say it, and no domestic violence, all these things. They had to come and make sure your house have a premises is secure. You know what I mean? So they went on to say, these fees started at $45,000 and could reach up to $80,000 depending on which dealer is approached. So a processing fee, as far as I understand, there's no big set of money attached to applying for a firearm user license. They have the little fees and things, but they're $45,000 and $80,000. As part of its investigation, Sunday Express accompanied 5 businessmen on separate occasions to different licensed dealers' businesses over a period of 3 months. When they say dealers, they're talking about people who deal in firearms, who have their business where you could buy the firearm and those things, right? 3 businessmen paid the processing fees and secured their FULs within a short period of time. They didn't say what the short period of time was. It went on to say they were also provided with receipts after paying their fee. Proof of the expedited FUL application was shown to the Sunday Express. Additionally, it was uncovered that these dealers and several of the business owners are donors who have signed on to the Support Our Service initiative of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the brainchild of Commissioner Guy Griffith and his wife, Nicole, which was launched last year. It involves businesses pledging support for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, such as affording police discounts or providing tangible items to the police service. Some of the people, boy, I shake my head while I read this. Anyway, some of the licensed dealers also provide goods and services to the TTPS. The dealers in question, which form part of the Sunday Express investigation, are located in Southern, Central, Northern Division. So they're all over the country. The Express understands that processing fees, quote unquote, are separate from the purchasing of firearms and ammunition and training at the range. So in other words, you have to go and buy your firearm, you buy your ammunition and all that, and you pay to train at the range or whatsoever you're doing. The processing fee is just to expedite the license, is what I think Denise Wren trying to say here. Once the processing fee is paid, the client receives a receipt. The FUL is approved within a guaranteed 6-week period or earlier. So they specify the period, 6 weeks or earlier. Now, typically, if you apply for FUL, rumor have it that it'll take up to 2 years sometimes for you to get the license, right? But now you're getting it for 6 weeks if you have a 35 to 80,000, right? Maybe you join DSS, you collect your big hand and you pay for that one time. Additionally, should a client require variation of their firearm, that can also be arranged, and the processing fee depends on the type of firearm you want. Let me skip past some of this here. She went on to talk about an interview with a businessman on October 28th. And the businessman, she said in an interview at Sunday Express on October 28th, a businessman who requested strict confidentiality said 2 weeks ago he placed a call to a firearms dealership within the Northern Division. Quote, apart from myself, there were other businessmen who were interested and we decided to apply as a group, unquote. The businessman said he called the dealership and after listening to the welcome recording, he pressed the number for customer support. After explaining that the group wished to purchase firearms and was inquiring about the price, a company representative indicated that they would receive a discount price of $35,000 each for the processing fees. He asked what was processing fees for, since I am unaware of any such thing. And she indicated the fees assisted in speeding up and having others push the paperwork through for the application process. He went on to say, I was shocked. Yes, as a businessman, we need to have a firearm to protect our business and our family, but I refused to entertain a processing fee to expedite my FUL license or application. It's quite ridiculous and it's becoming a norm, so on and so on and so on. Somebody else went on to say this, somebody else who interviewed, they say no regrets in paying. In another interview with the Sunday Express, the businessman who paid felt they had no other option. They collectively stated that the increase in crime had them feeling vulnerable and paying for a processing fee was a sure thing. So hear what they say here. Quote, look at name called. He is literally a big man in the police service and running his stuff on the side with his recently acquired range. That's why I had no problem paying the money. I was sure I would get through. It was a sure thing. There's no price too much to pay for peace of mind and protecting your family. I have no regrets, one businessman said. Another businessman said, yes, it's illegal that I paid, but it was for the greater good. I have a family and a business to protect. The licensed dealer is a professional. He has been servicing the southern community for years. He's well known by the police officers and so on. Listen, himself told himself. You understand what I'm saying about this song? So big reputed business people in this country, comfortable not just circumventing the process for their own gain or their own personal protection, but they're also comfortable saying there are no problem with it. I know it's illegal, but I pay in. And if I had to pay to get my license, I'm paying to get my license. That's what he says. Salute to the guy who said he ain't paying. It's a no processing fee. He will pay what he legally required to pay, and he will wait. He and his group of people who he went in with. But these same people, like, boy, you want to look down on everybody who decides to go in DSS and join in and take a chance to make money and saying them getting through the expense of everybody else. And everybody want to look down on people. But look at this article that coming out in the midst of this thing where business people basically paying dealers who registered. Now you registered for something as serious in a country as a dealer for firearms in a country where crime is spiraling out of control. Everybody is feeling secure. It's funny enough, I just talked about this a few weeks ago where man breaking in people out. That's a scary thought that somebody could break in my house and I can't do nothing about it. Because if he come with a gun, I just had to beg and hope for the best. You know what I mean? But you comfortable because it's your family and whatever happen, you making sure you get through with yours. So when I apply for mine and I do pay, and mine saying down there for 2 years, you pay your money and yours processing in 6 weeks, which pushing back my own even further because I going through the legitimate route. So this where I have a difficulty. That's why nobody can tell me nothing about if people taking their chance and they're doing this and watching people who doing. So when other people make their hustle or do their thing, them is to get locked up and end up in the papers and everybody know their name and they're going to flash the defense force ring in press conference and thing. But you could own a firearm dealership or a range and openly say you're collecting $35,000 to $80,000, I'm giving you a discount, $35,000 a piece, and give them people receipts. Listen, this country is greatest, yes? But everybody was so shocked that the SS was collecting receipts and why people doing this and if they this. Look at what is happening in the country. The most upstanding people who's supposed to be protecting us. So one of them people who own a range is a policeman, they saying. And he collecting $35,000 like normal. Now I want to go back to something here just to refresh people's memory. in the midst of that whole thing with locking up DSS and prees and all that kind of thing, the last time they had raid, an article came out in the papers saying that a senior police officer gave Karen Priest Clark, the head of DSS, gave him the assurance that if he cooperates, his firearm user license will be expedited. Only remember that, boy? If you don't remember, just Google it. That was in the papers, documented that he was saying, a senior person say, don't worry, if you think just cooperate with me and you'll push through your license. So why must doubt now we're talking to Gary Griffiths all the time? Who else is that senior policeman who tell you that? And how, if it's not Gary Griffith, then how that person could tell you that with that amount of confidence if it's not happening? And then you have an article like this coming out and saying clearly that's what happened. And listen, this is not today, you know. The first time I hear about this, $10,000 was the figure. And that must be 10 years ago. But listen. And the man who tell me about that is a man I talk about on this podcast. I ain't going to talk about him here, but it's a man I talk about on this podcast already, who tell me, this is a long time ago, he was the first person I know that firearm. And he was telling me, boy, pay 10,000 again, you think fast. Now, one other thing I want to remind you of, when Gary Griffith just came in power, okay, where you call that? You get elected, selected, whenever they make him commissioner. Only remember that Gary Griffith came in and made a big issue over the fact that Stephen Williams is not approving people firearm license. And tell me if you remember these words, that people entitled to apply for a license, and if you meet the requirements, you're supposed to get the license, so they have no reason why a commissioner of police, he said that commissioner of police doesn't have the authority to stop people from getting a license, because under Stephen Williams, none of them license wasn't signing off. And one of the first thing Gary Griffith do is wipe off all the thing, all. He say all the applications is to be deleted, come back in and apply for your license, and he will ensure that people get it. So he improved the process. That's why it was something like to me, you know. He say scrap everything that was happening before, reapply, and he will make sure that the process running smooth. Now that fair to me, because if it come like a driver's license, but I don't know what is people's opinion about owning a firearm and all that, right? But come like driver's license. Imagine you have to get a license to drive, and you feel driving is very important for you, for your work, transport, comfort, whatever. And you in a system where you can't go and get it in a reasonable time, and you meet all the requirements, you pass the test and thing by taking you 2 years to get, that's not right. If we in a state that's saying you're not supposed to have a driver's license, better they come out and say that so we could act accordingly. But we're in a state where you're supposed to be able to get a firearm user license if you meet certain requirements. So why it is if you meet the requirements, it must take 2 years. But instead of addressing the process, the accusation here is that thing being paid and listen, it going to be an accusation, you know, because the Nigerian reporting here that she's seeing receipts from the place. Imagine you just call the place, that what they say in the article, you know, they call the place to find out about, and the person give them an offer on the phone. You don't know who's these people. You don't know if it's Mark Bassant and the commissioner and a man from the embassy and priest was on the line. You just giving out information like, yeah, well, I'll get a discount. Everybody will get it for 35,000. If you come by yourself, you got to pay 80. Boy, I don't know. So when the high horse thing is always get me here, yes, to be honest, because I mean, sometimes the people who have the most authority to talk, when you start to find out about their issues and you hear them say in the article too, like I don't know, it sounds like if they're alluding to the fact that if you support whatever that organization is to support police, you're on the inside with the fast tracking thing. And just last week, before all this happened, I remember reading something in the papers about somebody getting a license firearm, their license signed off by the commissioner. My understanding is that the commissioner had to sign all of them. And the person is either a criminal record or some kind of record with domestic violence or something, and was clearly not meeting the requirements, but they get their own sign. So I wrong for assuming now that the person paid the 80 or whatever they had to pay? Yeah, I don't know. And then while we're talking firearm user license, right? I try not to talk about Philip Alexander too much, right? I don't know how I feel about Philip already. God bless Philip. I think he retired from the politics and thing. I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's coming back out or what it looks like. But what he didn't retire from is being on social media and being loud and confrontational and abrasive and thing. Now, the man believe in the country. I no doubt about that. So the fella love the country and he wants to see the country be a better place. Now, if politics is the best place for him to do that from, I don't know. But I going through Facebook like normal and I see Philip Alexander making a video. You know, you can't miss a voice and like he's still outside the president's house counting block and thing to see how much money he could have billed it for. In the president's house, I think it cost 100 million. He said he could have billed it for about 500,000. So I don't know if you're still out there doing the estimate and thing. But some people coming out their car with a dog. No, these people don't want to smoke it because the woman is coming up to him to try to explain to him that the dog is not a dangerous dog, but he going on and on about how big the dog is and how small the man is. And the dog, now, I had to take Philip's side a little bit here because I afraid dog. And you see them size of dog, when I see, if I run the savannah and somebody coming out of the car with that, I think the dog is a cane corso or Italian corso, one of them, they're big. Or Italian mastiff, some kind of thing, so it's big. And if I approach and if somebody coming near to me with a dog or I see the dog, I might turn around and walk the next direction in the savannah. That is me. I'm not playing them kind of games because you never know with a dog. People just think the dog train and the thing and it have good temperament and all these nice things dog owners like to say. But they're really coming out with a big dog without no muzzle and thing. But I don't understand why Philip had to. Why you so loud? You can't just go on to. You could talk to those two people alone. So every conversation you have that has something to do with making the place a better place, like we call it that, right? It had to be recorded and it's this big set of scene. Now, what that for? And then post it on your page to get your why? I don't see why you couldn't just say, excuse sir, listen, that dog, given the size of the dog and your size and thing, you could muzzle the dog, please, or whatsoever it is. And maybe he do that first. And then they refuse and they start to record because it seemed to me like they refused. The man wasn't taking it on at all. And the woman went to reason with him to say these dogs they're not a part of the Dangerous Dog Act. And they are gentle dogs or whatever she was trying to explain. And my guy say at one point in the video, he's like, Madam, don't come any closer to me. I have a gun in my hand. And I thinking, but Philip, why is all this necessary? What I wonder if there's do little de-escalation things in politics training when you're training to be a politician. You can't just talk to people again. It has to be this whole big scene. I don't understand. And we're saying aside with him is that I'm not going no close to no dog. If I feel threatened by a dog and I have a firearm, I might see if I could get my firearm ready because I ain't taking no dog bites. If one of we had to go is the dog. But where I siding with him too is I think you should wait on whether your dog on the Dangerous Dog Act list to keep your dog muzzled or treat with it like that. And I saw some people on a dog page I follow on Facebook. What is the name of the page, boy? Purebred Dogs at Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of the dog owners said, listen, your dog is your responsibility. Dogs have bad days. The temperament might be one way for the whole life, but they have an off day or off moment. Or a person do something. I running around the savannah and I decide to drop down and do some burpees all of a sudden. That will never happen. But in case I do something like that, suppose the dog react or the dog, you know what I mean? So why not we as a society, like we don't always need a law or legislation to act or do the right thing or do as in the best interest of everybody else. But I mean, again, you could have that as a conversation with people rather than is a firearm thing. And I think people on Facebook kind of showed her because the owner of the dog seemed to jump on Facebook to talk about it. And a lot of the people under the comments was like, Miss, listen, you see that size of dog, you should have it muzzled if you're going out. The dog should be trained and all this kind of thing. One fellow was even saying he have dogs for a long time and he always trains his dogs. But he say he's tell people, keep a safe distance from the dog. He keep the dog muzzled when he in public. If somebody want to pet or play with the dog, he gives the dog the commands first, then the person could approach. And he say even with that, he's still very watchful because all the stories we hear about dog attacks, something is a false moment. It's not like that's how the dog behaves all the time. So, I mean, just let me try and settle some of the disputes off camera now. Maybe that might be a easier way and make the drawing of the fuel of your licensed firearm, I suppose. Make it last resort now. I don't know if that's the right thing to say with the firearm. People I think might say different. They might say pull it out one time. But we could live in a society where it's not necessary and we could talk and solve these things without that, right? All right, enough of that randomness time. Happy birthday to Miguel Sadie Shepherd as my little cousin. That is the first little baby I ever know. And she's a big woman now. She's nearly my age. Now she's catching up. And life's so funny. I tell her I play mass with Yuma this year, right? And Sadie and her friends, she and her squad was playing with Yuma too. So I end up, not really playing with them now because I see them in the morning when we leave home. They stay home right by my mother. They're in St. James with me. I see them when we leave home and I see them when it's time to come home. You don't really see them then trying to be wrong the old man. But happy birthday. And Sadie from originally from La Hawkins too. So I might call her and see if she could spend something, you know what I mean? You know you collect. So squeeze off something from the DSS money you collect now. If you're in La Hawkins, I know you're in little Dubai. Let me make it happen. All right, what we supposed to do? That was just a random moment. Sparrow. Who do Sparrow that? If you didn't see this, yes, I'm attempted to make this the cover art for the podcast, but I'm not doing it because it's disrespectful. I want to go and use a normal photo of Sparrow so you see what Sparrow is supposed to look like. And then you could just Google Caribbean Wax Museum. When you check the Caribbean Wax Museum, you will see Sparrow. I also have it posted on the Corey Shepherd podcast page. Go and check it out yourself and tell me who you find that looking. They make a wax figure of Sparrow. I remember when they announced this, they said they was making a wax figure. I like that because they're immortalizing our icons more than they already immortalized. And I was shocked yesterday. When was that? Sunday, I think, when I saw the picture that they put. And boy, listen. The man, I don't know what part of him resembling Sparrow. It's so far from Sparrow. It's looking like a man who win the County Council Calypso competition. I don't know why they put this out. I don't know if when you do the final thing, you know, if you draw something, if you're artistic and thing, you'll step back and watch it. He watched that and he say, all right, good to go. And send out this thing. And then the man come out and say, listen, there's an unflattering picture. And where they put the lights in and these things, it could look like anybody's face. And so the man blaming the camera work and the lighting and thing. No, I decided to go and check out the thing. I want to give the man the credit for your work, right? So I say, you know what, let me check out this thing and see what really happening. And why this representation of Sparrow is the best one we could get. Because I don't know if y'all remember when they did a statue for Sparrow on the north side of the savannah back in the day. And it really didn't look like Sparrow at all. The face was real flat. And he came out and said, that is not me, that's Calypso Rose. I remember that was the headline. And it really looked more like Calypso Rose than Sparrow. So I said, let me go and check out this website and see who is the people who make this wax figure. And much to my surprise, and I guess I'm delighted to see that they're doing a lot of wax figures of people throughout the Caribbean. So I posted on the Corey Shepherd podcast Facebook page, right? I'll post it on Instagram too. And listen, if they have a Usain Bolt. Now, I don't want to say that this is Usain Bolt from the Special Olympics, right? Because that would be disrespectful. So I'm not going to say that. But the pose and everything and the lightning bolts and it looked, you could see as Usain Bolt. And the uniform, the sprinting uniform and thing. But when you zoom up on Usain's face, all right, let me just say that. When you zoom in on Usain's face, it's not looking like Usain, right? Then I see they do one of Bob Marley. Now, the one of Bob Marley is a winner because Bob Marley is an icon, a legend in reggae music, and the big promoter Rastafari, even in his passing. And boy, they put Bob Marley with a fashion dread. They put him man with one of them weave on dread. Like, remember when Sharon passed away? Or when they killed Sharon, it's at that time Sharon put in a kind of Rasta weave. I don't know where it's called that. Goddess locks, they put Bob Marley, a man like Bob Marley, they do that. And they throw on a Gap shirt and a Gap jeans and a Pro Kids. And boy, listen, they put a guitar wrong Bob Marley. Boy, I ain't lying. The face, no, it looked nothing like Bob. Maybe it's Skip Marley. Wait, let me watch this thing good. Just Google Caribbean Wax Museum and you'll see all these images I'm talking about. And maybe it's Skip Marley. It look a little more gentle, you know what I mean? A little more gentle in the face. So maybe it's a Skip Marley thing. But I went on. The nice one that I look at is Rihanna. Now, the nice thing about Rihanna is they have the photo that they use to create the figure. And then they have the figure next to it. You go and watch that from Rihanna holding a Grammy in the photo and they make it with the Grammy. And now the Grammy looking good. if you're being honest, the Grammy looking like like they get a Grammy itself and fashion it for this thing, but Rihanna. Rihanna looking like somebody, when long time your mother used to chaperone you to go in the grad, you want to go grad, but you can't go by yourself. Rihanna looking like somebody mother in this picture who trying to dress to come in the grad, boy. I don't know. Let me know this the people, eh? And I ain't calling my name neither. I went to find out the fella name, but then when I see the rest of work they do, I say, let me leave this alone. I ain't want to bad talk, man. Thank God somebody doing something for the icons. I see with the one here always saying we need to do more things. So the man doing more, but we need to get the artists, I feel, to sign off on the final version of this thing. Because I don't know about Rihanna and Usain and Bob can't sign off, but I don't think Sparrow will be happy with this. And judging from social media, nobody in Trinidad happy with this. Everybody is like, dude, listen, this is not it. And people genuinely upset because the birdie is an icon. So maybe I'll use the cover art as a real picture of Sparrow so we could see the Sparrow we know and document it that way. Yes, because that wax figure is not it. Wait, hold on. Actually seeing something here. The man name, I'm going to call his name now. Arturo Edwards is the man name, right? And I seeing something in the Guardian right when I saw him about this. The man say it was enlightened, right? I think I tell you that. Now, when he posed the picture, the one in the Guardian, I might have to eat back more words quick. The one in the Guardian not looking as bad as the one that going wrong on social media. The man say, wait, let me take it straight from the Guardian. Edward, who created the statue for Caribbean Wax Museum, who unveiled this statue as a tribute to Sparrow's contribution to the region and his music last week, was not amused. He responded to several comments under one Facebook post with the following stock response. When a face is in top-down shadow and faded, it could be that of anybody's. Well, I mean, the man is an artist, so if he says so, it had to be so. I don't know nothing about that. But what I can tell you is the picture in the Guardian. No, if I'm being honest, it's not great. Well, I shouldn't say great. It's not an exact replication of Sparrow face like a photo. But the little smile and the smirk and thing, you see how I was saying Usain Bolt had the elements that's showing here is Usain, and same thing with Kitchener. The man is vibes. I take back everything I said, the man is vibes. the Sparrow, I don't know why they use a grey hair version of it. All the man eyebrow and thing grey, they could have make a younger version, I guess. But when you watch the little smirk, maybe I will use this as the cover artwork. When you watch the little smirk, the man looking good, man. So salute again to Arturo Edward. I go and play like none of that never happened. We never say none of that. Salute to you, my guy, for documenting our icons and everybody else who are at the Caribbean Wax Museum. So clearly, I don't know what he's talking about. But wait, he say, hold on. There are plans to create David Rudder by next. Arturo, please get David Rudder right. David Rudder is not the guy who you want to go and make a wax figure of, and he don't like it because all you ain't go hear the end of that. David Rudder is a serious man in these streets. So if you go and do David Rudder, get involved with him, work with him and things. Don't just take the picture. I find when you're playing somebody in a movie, you have to go and spend time with them and get to, you know the accent, you know the way they song. I know the wax figure not capturing all that, right? But you might capture a little bit more about the face and thing than if you're an artist and you could bring it together that good. And use a younger version, man, or you put birdie on this grey hair and all them kind of thing. But salute to Redwood. Sorry about everything I just said. So a new more self-tell himself news. Vasan Bharat have a headline on the papers here on the 30th of October and around that, right? This is in the Express. Kamala lost 11 times. I can win as UNC leader. So Kamala Persad-Bissessar finally called the internal election, and you know how she said as a politician, she come out and put it like, I have heard the people's call. People calling for this a long time, but I guess it will make Devan Maraj happy. He's been vocal about Kamala stepping aside and all those things. When you hear who calling for people to step aside, sometimes you had to laugh, yes? But Vasan Bharat, who I was pretty sure the other day Vasan Bharat was done with the UNC. Because if I remember right, Vasan Bharat was on an appointment. Was it a recovery committee for COVID or something like that they had appointed him to recently? But as it's in the Express here, Bharat officially declared that he will be battling the UNC leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, for the party's leadership on December 6, 2020. He criticized Prasad Bisesa, saying she led the UNC into 11 election defeats and the membership is crying out for change. Bharat also knocked Prasad Bisesa's representation as the member of parliament for Paria, saying he had to leave his house to seek help through the Regional Corporation for a Woman in Penal Rock Road, and so on and so on. Now, it's, boy, politicians are a hell of a thing, boy. And Basdeo Pandey had said it, politics have a morality of its own. Because for a man like Vasan Bharat to come out singing so forceful about this, who for several of those 11 elections that Kamala Prasad Bisesa lost, you were right there behind her, supporting her, contributing to her loss. But now I guess use the right man to be in charge and thing, right? I trying to remember if it's the same Vasan Bharat who was in charge of NFM with the remember the rice issue? And boy, listen. Politicians, maybe I should stop talking more politics on this show because my disdain for politicians, I think, it's come through real clear. And I'm sure now, if I wasn't sure before, that the UNC obsessed with Trumpian politics, because all of a sudden, when there are election in the states, I think is when this podcast release, election results should be out or going on Tuesday, and UNC decided to call an election around the same time. You know what I mean? Trump say hydrochloroquine and sunlight is kill COVID. We hear it here in our elections. So it's like they have some kind of connection between. Even you remember I was telling about the little documentary we watched on Netflix. I was talking about Cambridge Analytica. They come up with Make America Great Again in that campaign, and the same thing they come to talk about our local campaign with say no to the PNM or kick out the PNM or whatever the rhetoric was. So the UNC and Trump, they must use talk and thing. But I mean, I try and stay away from the Yankee politics. I can't get involved in it. I don't understand well enough. I don't know enough about it to talk about it. But what I will say is this. One common thing that I've seen happening in the States, right? Because groups starting to get more and more polarized, and people who against who and who feel somebody else against them. And I mean, you all know the groups. For those who listen in the States or those who follow in it, you know all the different factions and everybody who on different sides. The issue I have is this. It seems to be that regardless of if Trump was to get re-elected or if he was to get elected, it seems as though there's a possibility of civil unrest happening in the country. And that's a country where man like to carry some more firearm license. Man like to have firearm license. You're going to Walmart sometime or Dick's Sporting Goods, you see a whole gun section. You know, and I am praying and hoping that everything runs smooth for everybody who over there. You all keep yourself safe. I don't like politicians, so I'm the wrong man to talk about this, because when I watch Biden and I watch Trump, I feel if any one of them get a chance, they whip me across my back and lock me up and put me on a boat to go somewhere else. I don't trust neither. Sorry for all the people who love Biden and everything, but I don't trust. Neither of them look like slave masters to me. So watch Biden good, and then watch Trump good. I don't see no difference between two of them. But I guess Trump will always come across as a hard pill to swallow because he openly makes racist statements, and he never come out and condemn the white supremacist groups. I think he doing business with plenty of them, so he ain't coming out and condemn them. And then I've seen some people who are Trump supporters saying that, well, the platinum plan apparently is a big thing now. They pick up steam right when he needed it to, I suppose, where it's about black empowerment and owning your own assets and wealth and that kind of thing. And then he's talking a lot about, at least to the black community, about how much people he give pardons and change the system where maximum penalties and all those things concern. Again, I don't know enough about it, but I see people was in an uproar because Lil Wayne and 50 Cent and I believe Ice Cube had meetings with him late. Well, Lil Wayne and 50 Cent pretty much come out and say they in support, and Ice Cube say he was just meeting with people to understand what was their policies for his community. And he said the Democrats didn't take the meeting, so he met with Trump. Now, again, wrong man, because them just like ketchup and mustard are just like UNC and PNM to me. Yes, I don't like neither of them. I don't trust neither of them. So, but when you see issues like those arise, and you see people like 50 Cent and Lil Wayne, very, very successful people within the black community, talking to them, is a, according to which side you're on, it could be seen as a cause for concern. Because I remember last time where Hillary was clearly ahead in the polls. And I went to the States just maybe a couple weeks or a month or so before the election. And I was in Augusta. And this is where somebody had to say it last time during the election. When we as Trinis following the election going on in the States last time, and we shocked when the thing come out about Florida. It's like, what? And I see somebody post like, Florida is not Miami. Because we have a tendency to think that Miami is the whole of Florida. And it look liberal and mixed. And you know what I mean? You would doubt that the people you see in Miami will elect Trump. But Florida is a whole state, which is a whole different ball game. So I think it might have been one of my first times really in a place like Georgia or in the South, and not Atlanta, straight out as far as Augusta and a little bit of South Carolina and thing. And boy, I tried to take a little run or walk the morning. And when I see people, how many people had them signs in their yard, Make America Great Again, Trump 2015 or whatever it was, 16 or 15. What was 16? You start to realize, wait now, this man really have a chance to win. I'm a partner over there. It's like, hey, Trump go and win it. So that was the first that real shocker to me, because the polls wasn't saying that. So I mean, the polls now saying that Biden's slightly ahead. I see some recent things saying that Trump catching up. My thing is this, right? Wherever side you're supporting and you want to see Trump out and them thing, please just take care of yourself now and be secure and be safe regardless of which side it go. Because I hear in some of the rhetoric is like, if I don't win and only don't give me back power, they steal it from me. So let me take these streets. And you're seeing videos going around where people saying if Trump lost, they come in and storm the streets. And it's both people say dog whistle. It seems to be plenty of that happening to encourage people to do that kind of thing. And I mean, on the next side, it also seeming there's the sentiment, not that Democrats or Biden pushing this, I don't think. But there seems to be a sentiment that, hey, if Trump come back in power, is unrest and all that kind of thing. So I just, neither here nor there on it. My thing is this. Take care of yourself, get low, stop, drop and roll, running a zigzag pattern. Whatever you have to do, just stay safe in them streets. I will check back in with everybody next week and see if everybody good. I just want everybody who listen to this now and our friends and family over there, let me just try and be safe now. And as we're talking foreign policy and, well, not policy, but the foreign folks, I see Boris Johnson taking our next full month of lockdown now. It sounds kind of, it sounds a little bit serious, a little bit drastic, because he basically outlined you could leave home to exercise. If you cannot work from home, you could leave home to go to work. But it looked like a full month of lockdown because of how high the cases going. And I mean, I hear calling for rollers to open back up the economy. And from everything I see, it's almost like if we will spend some time until we have a vaccine going through phases of opening up and locking back down. So I suppose we more heading towards opening back than locking down, because I think we 1 week into the 2 weeks where he said you'd come back and address us again about restaurants and reopening of different types of businesses. And we see Trotters close down a branch and more restaurants complaining about it. I see Sales Restaurant, a popular restaurant on the west side, they closed down. So we can't continue to operate that way. And I saw, coincidentally, while I recorded this, I checked the COVID numbers. There was 0 new cases today. But of course, a lot of people still have it through quarantine at home, who in step-down facilities, who would have recovered. And I think a decent number of people still in hospital with COVID. So, boy, as I say, it's a hard thing to manage. But we had to figure out a ways that we coming out of this, when we have a vaccine, that we are not facing an economy that crashed completely. The oil and gas thing. Well, you see what happened with oil and gas this week too. Well, your boy Roget was pretty confident that he was getting control of Paria Fuel, I think it is. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what promises were made. I was a little frightened for him. From the time I see it in sign before election, I know some kind of, politicians. And you don't know what's going on behind closed doors either. So I say the best thing to do, let me reach out to Roget and find out exactly where it is went wrong. So, Mr. Roget, how much it is only bid for the refinery?
550,000 the balance.
the man maths like mine. There's no wonder they didn't get through. The man keep putting the man putting the wrong number in the bid. So who knows if they'll get through. All right, I shouldn't laugh at that. I promised myself something. I'm not laughing at nobody and the little speech, any kind of speech issues. I try not to laugh at serious thing, right? So I take it back. I'm going to apologize to Mr. Roger. We should not laugh at that, right? No, and the funny thing is, as I go and wrap this up and I see the episode done, and now see something on my phone here with people going and march around the Red House for DSS. I had to play the clip. All I had to bear with me. I had to play the clip here.
Right now! Right now! Right now! Come off my neck, I can't breathe! Stop oppressing black people! We want the money! Right now! We need the money! Right now! We want the money! Right now! We need the money! Right now!
Something like Bar Lives Matter too. Let me don't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. The people protesting and they're trying to make sure they get back the money and thing. All power to them, right? But Mr. Roget, how much people do you feel in that DSS protest right now?
1,550,000 the balance.
And this is African arithmetic.
All right, I'm done. It's time to go. I'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the week. Everybody stay safe.